Hello, everyone. We're back in the game about princesses that may or may not be getting murdered by us.
This time for sure.
Is the logo too cute? I feel like the logo is going for a degree of cutesiness that the game itself avoids.
Oh, that's how you do it. See,
That seems pretty cutesy to me.
that's how you get them these days. That's what the kids are into. Their visual novels, but with the deceptive and the Steam reviews that are deeply misleading. Actually, that's just every game. Every game has deeply misleading Steam reviews.
Can you imagine how pissed Mumbles would be if we did Danganronpa without her? All right, let's see.
What
here.
is Danganronpa?
Oh no, I've done it again.
Hey, post in the comments. Explain to me in the comments what a Danganronpa is. Anyway, we're gonna pick up from our save from last time, which, if I remember,
Yeah, I
correctly,
believe
we were
this
getting
is.
lost in, yeah.
Woods.
Yeah,
At the end of that path is a cabin.
there were a bunch of
And in the
hands,
basement of that cabin,
and then there were like
is a
700
princess.
cabins, and we could go to any of the cabins.
Right, and
And then I think the world broke for a bit.
And if I'm kind of being frank here, the narrative clean
you're here
fucking
to
lost
slay
me.
her.
So
If
we're
you don't,
gonna see if I can kind of recover from that.
Well, the good news is that when we get to a reset point, our character forgets everything about the previous loop. So we've got all the stuff that we had at the beginning last time.
I'm talking about the end
Like,
of everything.
what do you
we
mean by
know.
the end of the
No
world?
more birds, no more trees, and perhaps most problematically of all, no more people. You have to put an end to her. Don't.
The narrator
linger
will
on the
stubbornly
suspense.
not tell us
You have a
anything
job to
about
do.
how
Just get in there and
the
do what
princess
needs to be
destroying the world
done. We're all
works,
counting on you.
or very much
Right.
of anything else.
Look, you're
We're
already
kind
on the
of being
path to
presented
the cabin.
with
Why would you be here if it weren't to complete
answers
a
and
very
lacks of
important
answers
task?
that
You've made
really,
it
if you're
this
gonna
far,
find one
you
of them
might as well
compelling,
reach
you're
the
probably
end
going
of
to
your
find the
journey.
other compelling at this point. Like, if you're going to find the lack of the narrator's willingness to present you with these answers, I feel like you're probably also going to find the answers we've actually gotten fairly, like, intriguing or satisfying.
We will certainly find answers. I'm not sure the answers will make any sense, but we'll find them.
Well, sometimes the answers don't make any sense. It doesn't mean you don't have to. I mean, you still gotta wake up in the morning and kill people. It's, you can't opt out.
So, if you'll remember, the last time, the first thing we did was basically just do everything that the narrator said to attempt to kill the princess. Did not work out. What do you want to do this time?
Let's just get it over with. Or number one also seems reasonable. Like, I'm not.
It's actually
Okay,
not
so
even
I
number
was.
one. There's
I
a
was
bunch
trying
of other options here.
I should say we've committed to doing more than 1 week of this, as evidenced by the fact that this is another week of this. So I'm not necessarily going to be picking the options that I think make for the most efficient and interesting week-long demonstration. But it has to be said that while I think that there's a decent chance that choosing a more kind of ambivalent dialogue option as opposed to a more direct dialogue option will produce a different narrative result, I actually don't feel that instinctively. Like, on some level, hemming and hawing with the narrator, I find it difficult to get over a sense of futility.
In that the narrator just kind of railroads you to the same point every single time.
Well, yeah, I guess on some level it's like, what is negotiating with the narrator might get me context, but it's not necessarily going to get me a different material result, or at least if it does, it's not going to be in a way that I could easily predict.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
Chris is also in this episode, by the way.
Well, I have my own thoughts on the game, but they're very orthogonal to what Rutsgarden was going on, and I didn't want to interrupt his thoughts.
Well, let's do the maybe, but we'll not commit to anything until
I guess
we
we'll just
meet
have
her
to see
face to
what
face.
happens. But a word of warning: if you go in prepared to hear her out, she could easily trap you in her web of lies. And the more you listen to her honeyed words, the harder it'll be to pull yourself out. Then each and every one of us is doomed.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
So sure, go talk to her. See how that turns out for all of us. You make your way
Oh, it's a cabin again.
path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within.
Did you expect it to not be a cabin this time?
Yeah, it was not a cabin last time. Remember, it changed into some sort of vaguely castle-y altar.
Oh yeah.
The interior of the cabin.
The interior changed. I think it was still just a cabin.
The air is stale and musty, and the floor and walls are painted in a fine layer of dust. The only furniture of note is a plain wooden table. Perched on that table is a pristine blade. The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
So, do we want to take the blade or leave it here and enter the basement unarmed?
May as well enter unarmed. I mean, we've gone the way of the knife before, I'd say.
Yeah.
Also, we've committed to talking to her first, so we can always come back up and get it.
The door to the
Can we?
basement creaks open, revealing a staircase.
Are you sure about
faintly
that?
illuminated by an unseen light in the room
You
below.
should be able to.
This is
There's
an
a simplicity to the
oppressive
art
place.
in this game,
The air
but
feels heavy
I
and
really do
damp,
find myself
a hint
admiring
of
it from a
rot
practical perspective.
filtering from the ancient
Just like
walls. If the princess
like
really
the
lives there,
way
slaying her is
it's one of
probably
those
doing her
art
a
styles
favor.
where the simplicity of it is deceptively clean and skillful. Where, like, if you don't know what you're looking for, you might just kind of think, oh, well, okay, yeah. But, like, the
Her
more you
voice
kind of
softly
understand
carries up the stairs.
what goes into producing this kind of effect, the more you're like, that's actually a ridiculous amount of, like,
Oh, yeah.
texture and three-dimensionality.
Yeah, the Black Tabby Games art style is like pretty fantastic. They also have a visual novel called Scarlet Hollow, which has it doesn't do the distortion effects as much as this one does, where the lines are wiggly, but like it's very much, the same sort of sketch and hatching with some color and stuff. It looks really neat.
Hello? Is someone there?
Is hypnotizing. It's the kind of voice you only have to hear once to remember it for the rest of your life. Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation. You're playing a dangerous game by coming here unarmed.
Would we like to
Hey,
say
I think
something?
I'm here to
or-
save you or slay you. Like, spoken with the intonation of a pizza guy who's a little confused about whether this is the right place.
I mean, we haven't actually just
Driver.
straightforwardly saved her yet, have we? May as well just see what happens, since, I mean, it could be that's the correct option.
Do you want me to? You mean I'm here to save you, or hey, I think I'm
Yeah.
here to slay you, or
Why not? Why not be Pollyanna?
so
I
was
don't
that
really
the
feel-
latter choice or the?
No, I'm here to save you.
Okay.
How many times do I have to
There is
tell
something
you
to the
how
idea of just
dangerous
being,
letting
like,
her out of here would be before it
Kind
finally
of
sinks
dim
in?
and disquietingly arbitrary.
You're here to rescue me? I was starting to think I'd
Just
be
being
stuck
like,
down
hi?
here forever.
Like, hi is a fucking deranged thing to say in this situation.
Come downstairs. I want to see the face of my rescuer.
You actually are just a pizza delivery guy. You walk in, put the pizza on the floor, and then leave.
You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to
So,
the
Chris, what
far
were your
wall
thoughts
of the
that you wanted to
basement.
get into?
I don't know if we want to wait this week until maybe
How
we
could
start
someone
seeing
like
it
this be
emerge
a threat
again,
to
but
anyone?
it does feel like a lot of this game might be a sort of a
I am
response to
begging
something like
you
the
to
Stanley
stay
Parable.
focused. There's a lot riding on you.
Ah, interesting.
Hi.
Maybe you could just, like, lay some
I've
groundwork?
been waiting for something
Well,
like this to happen.
We got the
forever.
implication on our first playthrough that there's an actual
That's
metagame
something to do
rather
with
than
these
just like an
chains.
infinitely branching narrative like the Stanley Parable, where the idea is we have to collect all these
Don't do it.
collective
She gets
voices,
out of
right?
this
Like we
change,
collected the
we're
hero
all
voice
Yeah.
and
closer to the end.
the whatever voice. It's been a month, I can't remember what they are. But the point is, like, you're collecting these different perspectives on the sort of, like, possibility space of the narrative. And it feels like the game's argument might be, and again, this is based on having not played it at all, that that the game's story is itself the possibility space, almost a repudiation and rejection of the Stanley Parables. There is the one right way, even though every way is within the designed possibility space. This is a game that very clearly is of the opinion that the possibility space itself is the narrative.
Well, I mean, in a situation like this and in a narrative like that, I think that it makes a pretty good argument that that is the case.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So do we want to just push forward immediately with trying to break her out, or ask her a few questions first?
I guess let's talk a bit first. May as well.
Okay.
Again, a pretty reasonable
You'll note
reaction.
her personality is completely different from the last time we did this.
Yep.
I've done a few runs and I think I understand what it's dependent on, but we'll get to that later on here. So there's a whole bunch of things we can ask her. How about, what's your name?
Oh.
Bit of a weird reaction.
Carefully formulating her words before she responds.
You can address me as Your Royal Highness. Or you can just call me Princess if Your Royal Highness is too
okay.
formal.
Is Princess her name or her title? What if it's both? Could you imagine being named Princess?
Okay. There's something I want to talk about here that I don't necessarily want to. Like,
Okay.
because there's a vibe I'm getting to this, which is, I there's so many ways to interpret what I'm about to say, and I want to make it clear that I don't mean any of the most brutal of them, but kind of to what Chris is saying, like kind of where this is about like exploring a narrative space and where the narrative itself kind of presents itself as like not necessarily okay. I'm just gonna put it out there. The experience that this game is reminding me the most is not actually like games like the Stanley Parable. It is using like AI dungeon, like novel AI style AI storytelling engines.
Really?
Yeah, which I have done enough to understand them. Like, it's not something that I would say I particularly enjoy after a certain point. But the kind of the thing where like you ask for a name and you get kind of an evasive semi-answer. It's obviously like much more specific and coherent than a lot of what you're going to get out of this kind of AI output. But there's this sense of like trying to nudge a narrative space towards something in a sense that is neither as free as writing it yourself, like, nor is quite as satisfying as a engineered narrative that kind of has an interesting to me it kind of like it mirrors that experience in a way that I can't like that I'm definitely thinking about. But I want to make it clear that like this is kind of like a raw thought. I'm not drawing any kind of conclusions or pushing any kind
Right,
of
like obviously this
assessment
is
from
not
that.
AI generated or anything. You're not saying that, but it puts you into that mindset of like trying to poke at this.
Like this is an artistic work that comes from
depth that you. Yeah.
This is the work that has that comes from a singular viewpoint for like an expressive, or not like necessarily a singular viewpoint, but like this has an artistic POV. That's just kind of like what this brings me back around to in ways that I am still thinking about. So anyway, let's continue.
Do you want to press? So is Princess your name?
Yeah, let's just push it on to that point. I think that's an interesting road to go down.
Like I said, you can call me Princess if you'd like.
Did you ever see that TikTok audio about wanting
Sorry, I've
wanting
been
the
out here so long, I
robot
guess
girl
I've
to say
just
that they're a
forgotten.
human?
I must have a name though.
This is very
Everyone has a
reminiscent of
name.
that.
I know I have no idea what you're talking about. What happens in that video?
I'll see if I can find an example.
Camster, the oldest person here, is the only one on the show that actually spends any time on TikTok.
Okay, that's weird. She hadn't even thought to pick a name for herself. Hopefully you're starting to see that she can't be trusted. Go back upstairs, get the blade, and slay her before it's too late.
What else we got here? I think the distinction here between, like, a narrative that is actually just kind of this house of cards put together without any thinking, and this is that this explicitly gives you the options to poke around at the hollow walls of this storytelling here,
this feels
and like
it is kind of realizing the degree to which there is not an underlying, like, this game is about this feeling. I'm saying it's just like the experience of using LLM-driven storytelling suites is that you quickly learn how hollow they are.
God damn it, Chris. Now I've got that. So I got Discord on my side monitor here, and it's on the secret channel we use to schedule stuff for spoiler warning, and now there's a fucking
Terrifying
YouTube video thumbnail
woman
that looks horrific, and it's just gonna be on my screen for the next 45 minutes, just hanging out over there.
Oh, this is grim. This is grim as fuck.
I don't think I can take the video and put it in this video, so one of you is gonna have to describe what's going on.
Horrors beyond comprehension.
It's a TikTok audio that got famous and kind of became a meme where people, it's a robot lady that is basically doing customer service, and a guy on the phone with her being like, "Can you just tell me you're a tell me you're a human?" And then all the AI can say is, "I am a real person," but it's not. It won't give any actual human response to it. It's great. It's creepy. Anyway, that just is what this reminded me of, where she does not have there's no human underneath the princess, right? There's no entity there. There is just the princess as cipher, as symbol.
It is a kind of mimicry which draws from recognizable expressions and symbols.
This is the only time this is ever going to happen, but
I mean, with the same being true apparently of the narrator.
That's hardly relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I mean,
actually, what has she been eating?
We were joking the first time we did this that, like, oh, it's the DM doesn't want to answer the questions. This very does feel to me like a DM that did not prepare very well.
Are we going to acknowledge the fact that we're literally asking, what does she eat?
Oh, God.
I just feel like we should acknowledge that.
God damn it. We've done it. Alright, where do we go from here? Got these questions.
Let's just keep asking questions and kind of like. I want to. You know what? I think before it would be prudent before we continue to fully kind of circumscribe what she will and will not tell us.
Reason is, but
to fully exhaust every avenue of inquiry in good faith.
There being some sort of an explanation, right?
You have all the explanation you need.
Like, the only answer she seems to be willing to give for this stuff is like, I've been down here for so long I don't remember anymore. Or, that's weird, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's not that any of that is, of course, impossible. Like, it's not that, like, a satisfactory, interesting, complex explanation of this would be required to take her situation at face value, but...
I don't remember much about it, to be honest. I've been down here for so long.
That's... How long has she been locked away?
Did they tell you how I'm supposed to end the world?
So now we can ask several different questions here, or Fact of the matter is, the narrator was not interested in telling us why she was going to end the world or how she was going to end the world, just that it was going to happen. So do we think they have reasons for keeping that information secret, or...
I think the most, blunt answer to that question... Actually, you know what? I like the... I was going to say, the best thing to do would be just to say no and see, and let her keep... not to do the burden of talking and interpreting this for her, but just to see what comes out of her mouth when you push that. But I actually kind of like the deflection at the top, because I'm interested in hearing an answer to that.
All right.
The princess hesitates before responding. She doesn't know. She's been down here too long.
I was talking earlier about, kind of the fucking gall of just being, a high. But I legitimately do want to try. I think that maybe, actually, to be honest, probably the most interesting thing that I could think of to do in this situation, which I think there's a reasonable chance this game explores, is just to not prompt the princess. To, not contribute your own kind of contextualization, and just to see what happens.
Whoever sent you to slay me claimed I was a threat to the world, but they didn't tell you why.
Clearly the answer is to set the princess and the narrator against one another.
Either, or you wouldn't have come down here to talk.
Basically, to use my extremely unflattering and slanderous chatbot analogy, what happens if you just spam enter?
Yes.
So this shouldn't be about what I'd do if I got out of here, or me saying the right thing to convince you to save me. This is about how messed up this whole situation is. This is my life we're talking about. Do you really think I can even end the world? Why would I even want to? We both know that if there's people we can't trust in this situation, it's whoever locked me down here, and it's whoever sent you here. And those two groups are probably one and the same.
Don't let her turn the tables here. This isn't about trust. This is about risk. We stand to lose everything, all for the sake of one person, and a subjugating monarch, no less.
The whole her being a princess does come up several times with the narrator. I think it would be very funny if this was actually just an anti-monarchist track disguised as a video game. Especially given the narrator's British.